Hey ladies and gentlemen, Steven here from Redolessence and welcome back to another video. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I really hope this video finds you well. And in today's episode, we're going to be taking a closer look at the most recent release by the company Parfum Vintage, and this one is called Emperor Colossus, so make sure to stay tuned. Now, before I begin the video, I do want to mention that if you are not familiar with Parfum Vintage and what they do, is they put out their own version of more popular niche or designer fragrances. So for example, they have many different versions of Creed AVENTUS, which is a really popular fragrance. I think it came out back in like 2011. It's one of the best-selling men's fragrances on the niche market from the house of Creed. They also have their own version of a lot of designer fragrances, maybe some of which are no longer available because of a discontinuation, or maybe a lot of them have been reformulated, so they wanted to analyze the ingredients and to make a stronger version of it. So I kind of support that, right? Making something that is no longer accessible again. And a lot of times we miss the memories that we had associated with those particular fragrances that we can't wear anymore due to a lack of accessibility. But with this particular fragrance, they took the AVENTUS DNA and they changed it up in such a way that they wanted to make it, I think, heavier and stronger on the pineapple. But in my humble opinion, this fragrance is a deviation from Creed AVENTUS. There are a lot of ingredients in there that are just utilized in such a different way from what I'm used to experiencing. And I've always said this on camera. I think my favorite version of their AVENTUS inspirations is Emperor Extrait. I love everything about that fragrance. The inclusion of the vanilla, that pineapple birch sort of opening that it has going on in there. I think it's a really solid interpretation of Creed AVENTUS, and it's one that I wore a ton of. But here we have something different. This is such a breath of fresh air, and I've actually been enjoying this one a lot over the past 2.5 weeks. So this was sent to me a while ago, so there's a full disclosure there. I did not purchase this when it was actually sent to me by the company. I'm really excited to tell you what I get from the smell. Let's start things off with the presentation. So the box for this fragrance is quite similar to other Parfum Vintage presentations that you may have seen in the past. It has a really nice design here on the front, and I like the texture of the box as well. The Parfum Vintage logo may be located on the top of the box. The back of the box has this graphic on it, and the bottom of the box has this quality control sticker on it. Now the bottle itself has this really nice ambery hue on the inside. Now, the only place that you may find the name of the fragrance is actually on the very bottom of the bottle. It says Emperor Colossus. The cap for this fragrance does not click into place, but it is a snug fit. You can get away with picking it up from the cap. And the distribution on the atomizer is incredibly wide, and you can also control how much you want to spray. Let's continue with the smell. As soon as this fragrance opens up, you are going to get this very bright and vibrant, overly ripe pineapple note. Now, the pineapple that's used in here is super strong, and it's something along the lines of like a Fine Apple by Gallagher Fragrances. There's another fragrance called Mile High. I forget the name of the company now, but it's this very bright, juicy, overly ripe, tart pineapple note that I absolutely love. And it's one of the reasons why I say this is a really strong deviation from Creed AVENTUS. When I think of Creed AVENTUS, I think of the pineapple, but I also think of the apple, the blackcurrant, the birch, the vanilla in the base, the patchouli, that earthy undercurrent, and it takes all of these ingredients coming together to create that AVENTUS DNA, or what in my head, as soon as I smell it, I say, yep, there's AVENTUS. If I were to smell this one in the air, although it is inevitably and undoubtedly inspired by Creed AVENTUS, this one definitely goes in its own direction, and it's a much more bright and vibrant version of Creed AVENTUS, the brightest that I've seen so far, or that I've smelled, I should say. And I think it's because of that bright, juicy, tart pineapple in the opening that people are not going to be immediately reminded of AVENTUS. And I know that that's such a weird thing to say because this is part of the Emperor series, so inevitably this is an AVENTUS inspiration, but it's done in such a different way that I really do believe as though this fragrance could stand on its own two legs. And it sort of validates the process that perfumer Damien Stammers is abiding by in terms of going in there, analyzing all of the ingredients, manipulating and tweaking those ingredients to create a completely different product. And I really do feel like that is the case with this particular fragrance. So it opens up with this very bright pineapple note. You wait 20-25 minutes, And then I smell the progression or the evolution of that ingredient, and to me it starts to smell like grapefruit. And I love the way that it smells, because for me, I'm having a hard time discerning whether I get more of like a ripe sweet fruity nuance or a bright fresh aldehydic citrusy nuance, because that one ingredient that I'm telling you about, it has this evolution to it where it smells sweet and overly ripe in the opening, and then it smells very fresh and a little tart, like in a grapefruit sort of a way. And I sprayed this on maybe 8 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago. I don't know how long this video has been rolling. We're not fully there yet, but it is starting to peek its head through. And perhaps it's because I've smelled some other grapefruit dominant fragrances, and this is what I remember smelling from those fragrances. And so I may be making that subconscious association there, but I love this one. I think that if you were looking for a more spring and summer oriented version of Creed Aventus, this is definitely it. I know some of the other fragrances like Beyond Noir, Noir Extreme, they're super birchy, super smoky. Those are the types of fragrances that I would say, you know what? Wait until the fall, wait until the winter, wait until it gets cold outside. And I think that you have some other versions like their Pineapple Vintage, the original, but also the Intense version that I think can be worn all year round. Of course, you have Emperor Extrait, which is one of my favorites, and you have Vanilla Intense, which I would say, you know what, spring and fall. But if you're looking for an Aventus inspiration to wear in the spring and in the summer, 100% I co-sign this. I think this is an excellent fragrance to wear for that time of the year, but also it's a fragrance to wear if you're kind of tired of the Aventus DNA and you're looking for something that smells a little bit different. In my humble opinion, this is a really strong deviation from Creed Aventus. As a matter of fact, if you smell the two side by side, to me, they are night and day. This is ultra fresh, ultra bright, ultra citrusy, heavy dose of pineapple, and I'm kind of abstaining from what the brand is saying about this fragrance and kind of putting in my own 2 cents, which I think a lot of people should be doing. And I find this to be a much fresher, brighter, more citrusy interpretation of Creed Aventus, while missing a lot of those heavier components that are also found in Creed Aventus. Let's go ahead and finish things off with my overall assessment. So first up, I took a look at the uniqueness and the overall smell. I find this to be a unique fragrance. Honestly, yes, let the record show this is an inspiration of Creed Aventus, or many would call it a clone of Creed Aventus, but I think Damien Stammer's approach is quite different. He doesn't want to 100% recreate a formula, but he wants to take the best of a particular formula, or maybe take certain ingredients and spotlight them and shift things around so that it's a unique fragrance in its own right. And I think we've sort of seen that with their Green Irish Tweed inspiration. You have one called Verbena Fields, you have another one called Emerald Isle, and so he manipulates the ingredients to make them smell a little bit different, which I think is kind of cool. You take a look at a lot of these batch variations from Creed's end, and you think to yourself, okay, this one is smokier, this one is more vanillic, this one is this one is that, and every year's batch is going to give you something different. What I think we're seeing here from Parfum Vintage is consistency, which is a good thing. Overall smell incredibly pleasant. In terms of the longevity on this one, I got 7 hours on my skin, which for I know it doesn't have grapefruit, but I'm just calling it a grapefruit dominant scent. Just that one aroma chemical that's used in here, I'm not sure what it is, but it's just giving me this overly ripe, tart pineapple note that sort of segues into this bright, fresh, citrusy grapefruit note. It's really, really wonderful. Longevity 7 hours. Projection on this one, I would say, is really good for the first 2 hours, just because it has a lot more concentrated, bright, fresh, citrusy notes, and so I think it's really the inclusion of those citrusy notes that allows this fragrance to jump up off the skin. So projection was really great for the first 2 to 2.5 hours. It didn't become a skin scent up until about that 5 to 5.5 hour mark, so this one will really get you through the day. Wonderful fragrance. I think I might make it my scent of the day today. In terms of the versatility, incredibly versatile, but like I said, I do think that this one leans a little bit more towards the summer months, just because of the fact that, you know, it is a summer-oriented fragrance with that bright, fresh, citrusy nuance going on in here. And I think that anybody can wear it. I do find it to be unisex. Like I said, it's missing a lot of those earthy and darker elements that are found in the original Creed Aventus. And so I can see a woman pulling this off very comfortably. And the presentation for this one, I think it's, you know, you've seen one, you've seen them all. This one has slightly darker juice from what I remember from a lot of the other Parfum Vintage fragrances that I do have in my collection. My final verdict on this fragrance is I am really enjoying this fragrance as a summer alternative to Creed's AVENTUS. Now here's the thing, if I want to smell like Creed AVENTUS, I'm not going to reach for this fragrance. Absolutely not. I'm going to reach for Emperor Extrait. I'm going to reach for Pineapple Vintage Intense. I'm even going to reach for Beyond Noir or Noir Extreme. If I want a fragrance that puts me in that AVENTUS mindset, but does things in like a 50% different way, what a wonderful fragrance. I really mean that when I say it. I do find it to be similar to fragrances like Fine Apple by Gallagher Fragrances, and also this one other fragrance that I referenced earlier called Mile High. I do find the pineapple to be along those same lines in terms of how bright and tart and juicy and fruity it is. Check this one out if you haven't had an opportunity to do so. I would definitely look online for a sample or something, because this one is a really awesome pineapple, grapefruit heavy fragrance for the summer and the spring. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. That was my review of Emperor Colossus by Parfum Vintage. If you own or have tried this fragrance, I would love to know what you think. Go ahead and leave a comment down below. Also, if you are new to this channel and you took something of value from this video, I would really appreciate it if you could support this channel by subscribing to it. It's easy and it's free. All you got to do is click that red button in the corner, and this way, whenever I do upload future fragrance-related content, it will get delivered straight to your feed. You never need to worry about missing any of my future uploads. And of course, that includes fragrance reviews just like this, but also top 10 videos, giveaways, unboxings, special guests, interviews, announcements, and a whole lot more. Thanks again for watching. I love you all sincerely, and we'll see you next time. Bye.